Hear ye, hear ye. Is the volume working? Okay, probably not, because it never sounds good. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about board games and board gamey things. My name is Jamie. I'm here today by myself because Jeff has left me to go to Alberta. A trip without me, quite rude. Visiting some of our friends, also rude. I suppose he's there for work, but still rude. I am back with a solo video, and today's video is going to be an updated version of my top 10 solo board games of all time. This is going to be kind of an ever-evolving list for me because I'm constantly trying out new solo games. I don't know if you all knew, but I have my own segment or my own video once a month on Board Game Geek called Solo Mode, where I play solo games. And so in the spirit of that series, I've been trying out a ton of different solo games, solo modes, all these different types of things to find games that I want to share with people in that series. And because of that, I have had the opportunity to discover a lot more games that I enjoy playing solo. And I'm very excited to continue on with that series. And if there's any solo games that you would like to see me play on Board Game Geek, put them in the comments below because I would love to know. Anyways, let's roll up our sleeves for this one because I have 10 games. They are ranked. It's a true top 10. And I also have like a butt ton of honorable mentions. But without further ado, let's just dive right into it. Let's start off with honorable mentions. Now, like I just said, I have a butt ton of them because, well, I'm bad at making like lists. I know everybody wants to see top 10 lists and stuff like that, but man, it's so hard to narrow things down. And there were so many that I had to cut from the top 10 that I'm like, but I still want to mention them because I love them. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to run through them relatively quickly, starting with Too Many Bones. Now, I know that Too Many Bones would probably be one of my favorite solo games. However, I've only played it solo like once, maybe twice, and all other times I have played it like cooperatively or two players with Jeff. So I just think like I love it solo, but I do think I need to play it more solo because I'm so used to playing it with somebody else. And so as much as I wanted to put it on this list, I was like, I haven't really played it enough solo for it to quite make it, but I do love that game. Next up, I have Set a Watch. And Set a Watch is, actually there's quite a few of these and I own 3 of them right now, but this is another game you can play co-op. I have only played it solo. I believe it's meant to be played solo. It's best solo. And the reason why it didn't quite make my top 10 is because I've only played it once. And I desperately want to play this more because it is so fun. It's basically you are playing as different like RPG style characters. So, you know, maybe there's a dwarf and a human and a cleric or whatever, a bunch of different types of characters, and you are going out onto these little adventures to fight off bad guys, coming back to the camp, leveling up, and kind of going through different stories and campaigns. Like I said, I've only played it once, but I loved my experience playing it, and I know it will make the top 10 at some point. I also have Three Sisters, which is typically would be on my top 10 solo games. I just haven't played it in so long, but I do love it. And now I also own Motor City and French Quarter. I really need to play both of those. They're all part of the same series. And I just heard that Three Sisters is getting like a makeover, like a bit of an update. So gameplay is the same, but I think there will be new maps, a campaign mode, better solo mode, stuff like that. So really excited for that. Another one I was surprised didn't quite sneak in to my top 10 is Planet Unknown, which is a tile placement game that I love, love, love. I also did a solo playthrough for that one. And last but not least, in honorable mentions, I just wanted to shout out a few Button Shy games. I made myself choose, but only one for my top 10. But these ones are pretty close, and that's Food Chain Island, Ugly Griffin Inn, and the Royal Limited. I'm sure if you have been watching us for a long time, or if you know me at all, you know what my favorite solo Button Shy game is. So stay tuned for that, but those are my honorable mentions. Okay, let's get into that list. Starting with number 10, which is a new to me game this year, but I played it one time cooperatively and immediately I was like, I love this game, I love this game. And as soon as my friend left, it was Nick Murphy of the Brothers Murph. As soon as he left, I set it up and I played it solo multiple times, and it's so great. And that game is The Search for Lost Species. If you're curious if I've ever played The Search for Planet X, I have not. I have less of an interest in space, more of an interest in animals. So this is definitely the one for me. Basically, in Search for Lost Species, you are searching for the lost species. It's literally right in the title. But you are doing that through means of deduction. So you are going along a map, and there are different ways that you can search areas. So maybe you're searching by foot, maybe you're searching by boat, maybe you're talking to the townspeople, and all of those different things are going to take certain amount of time, and you are just kind of going through the game trying to determine and deduce where the lost species is by figuring out where all of the other animals are. And there's different rules, like the I almost called it a loris. Couscous. The couscous is not near the snake, and the snake is not anywhere near a frog or whatever it might be. It's so fun. It's such a great little solo puzzle. You can just kind of sit, do your thing. There's an app companion that you can work with that kind of takes you through the game basically and helps you determine whether or not you're right. So there's a bunch of different lost species you can find. I love it. If you haven't tried it, please do. It's so good. I definitely want to do a solo playthrough of this one. However, my hesitation is I don't want to look stupid because I'm not really great at it. And so I know it's one of those like deduction games. It's one of those games, if you do something, everybody on the screen be like, why did you do that? Or they'll, yell at you via screen, which is fine. But I want to play it and get a little bit better at it before maybe I make a playthrough. So that's number 10. Number 9 for me is going to be Oceans from North Star Games, and this one has to come with a bit of a caveat. The solo mode is not readily available. Like, you can't necessarily buy a physical version of the solo mode. I assume you can sometimes, but it's not available, I think. However, they do have a print and play version of it that you can get, and I would highly recommend it. So I did a solo playthrough of this one, but in Oceans, you are essentially building out different species in the ocean that you need to feed, you need to age them so that you can score them, and you are doing that by feeding like on fish and things from different areas of the ocean, but you can also attack other species that are near you. So in the solo mode, it comes with a shark and a whale. And the whale is feeding from the ocean, so it is essentially taking resources away from you, and the shark is going to be attacking you, taking away your resources, which may end up making you go extinct, and then you can't continue aging your species, and aging is basically collecting fish, and the fish are your points. This is such like a brain burn when you play it because you have to figure out how to optimize your species. Because sometimes you can trigger your species off of each other, you can trigger it off of the whale and the shark, you can try and screw over the shark by making it have to attack the whale, and like all of these different things. It's really difficult because as the game goes on, new elements are introduced for the shark and the whale that are making it more difficult for you. Like maybe they're going to put parasites on you and all of these different things. It is so good. Oceans in general is a great game, but I really, really like the solo mode. And like I said, there's a print and play version, so you can definitely try it out yourself if you're interested. Plus it's beautiful, and it just once again makes you even more terrified of the ocean than you were to begin with. Okay, moving on to number 8. Wrong, it's just me. My number 8 is Life of the Amazonia. This game, I didn't know what to expect from this game. The publisher, I think, reached out and said, hey, would you be interested? And we're like, sure. I didn't even know it had a solo mode. And then we played it, and I was like, oh, like, a game is good when Jeff and I finished our game, and he was done playing games, so I reset it up and played it solo twice in a row immediately after. Like, I just wanted to keep playing this game. So basically, in Life of the Amazonia, you are building out a habitat and you are trying to appease different types of animals that you then want to bring over to live on your habitat, and you're going to be scoring those animals accordingly. So some animals might want to be next to other animals, or maybe they want to be all by themselves, or maybe they want to be in a grouping, or you're going to score points per alligator, whatever, in a sea space. There's so much variability within this game as well, because there's the basic animals, and then there's other animals that you can add in. You are also going to be, like, there's objective cards that you can maneuver. And something that's really interesting about this is that, like, the resources that you are using are like kind of filtering almost. So you're trying to do some resource management as well. It's adorable. The Meeples in this game are out of this world. If every meeple looked like these meeples, I would be like the happiest person in the whole wide world because they're so freaking cute. The solo mode itself is basically setting you up with different challenges, and you are playing against an AI character that is going to be kind of taking things away from you, and you're just trying to get the best score possible. I would kind of say that the solo mode for this is pretty similar to that of Calico, with all of like the different challenges that you can do. Everybody will get like a little starting animal as well. It might tell you what animal you start with. It might tell you which sides of the different basic animals are going to be starting. Lots of different things, but if you haven't tried this game, either solo or not solo, I would highly, highly recommend it. It is so good. Next up, we have number 7, which is Horrified. I love Horrified. I have always loved Horrified, and it's really interesting because it's not a game that Jeff overly enjoys. My brother Jason really loves Horrified, and same with my niece Acacia, and so typically anytime that we had played it with them because we all enjoy it, minus Jeff. Jeff likes it, but you know, not enough. Then I discovered that you could play it solo, and believe it or not, I do have a solo mode on this one as well. So I love Horrified. In this game, you are basically playing as different townsfolk that are trying to stop the universal monsters or the American myth monsters or the Greek monsters from taking over the town and killing all of the people that are in it. Each of the monsters is going to have a specific way of how you need to overcome them, and they are all unique. And you can make this game a little bit easier by only using like 1 or 2 monsters, or you can make it really hard by using like 3 or 4 monsters if you're crazy. That's a lot of monsters. And so you can kind of like change the difficulty. The only main difference with a solo game is that there are certain characters that you can't use because they all have like a special ability, and some of them don't work solo because they bounce off of other people. But in general, you are doing the same thing. You are going through the town, you are collecting different things, you are moving townsfolk to their preferred places, and then you are trying to defeat the different monsters before you die. It's so fun. It is, I would say, a pretty like welcoming solo experience. I think a lot of people have played Horrified. A lot of people already know the game, and because the rules don't change a ton, it's a really great way to get into solo games, and it's just an overall freaking good time. All right, let's move on to number 6, and my number 6 is going to be Black Sonata. This is by far one of the most unique solo games I've ever played. It is a hidden movement deduction solo game based in like Shakespeare time, so like the 1600s in London. And essentially what you are trying to do is you're trying to find the Dark Lady. She's hiding somewhere in London. She's moving all around, and there is a deck that you're going to be playing through. You're going to be finding different clues and trying to deduce her location based on the clues you're getting, based on places where she has been. You're going to be moving around. It is difficult to win, you want solo games to be difficult to win, in my personal opinion, but it is just so unique. Like, who would have thought that you could have had like a hidden movement style game that you're playing by yourself? It runs really smoothly. I think the biggest thing is that this game might be a little bit harder to find, or at least it was. It might not be the case now because I think they recently had a new expansion come out. It's so fun. Like, if you get an opportunity to play this, if you are up for a little bit of a challenge, if the theme sounds interesting, I would highly recommend that you try this one. It's so good. Like, I really want Jeff to play because I think he'd really like it as well. You could probably even play this co-op. Not supposed to, but you probably could. Next is another one that I have done a solo mode for, and that is 20 Strong from Chip Theory Games. 20 Strong is, I think it just came out this year. I don't know. Time is such a weird thing. Like, I have no idea. Maybe it came out last year. Don't remember. But 20 Strong is essentially like a dice building, dice rolling adventure game where you are trying to defeat different baddies, different like scenarios, go on different adventures. It really depends because there's a bunch of different themes that you can play. My personal favorite one is Too Many Bones, where you are almost just playing like a mini version of Too Many Bones. You get to be one of the gear locks. You get to have your little dice pool and your special ability, and you're kind of going through an adventure and different encounters and overcoming the baddies by rolling dice and pushing your luck. Now, that being said, there's a huge luck element to this. Once again, it's just extremely difficult because like I have lost this game within like the first couple of rounds because you don't always get the dice back. So basically, each of the things that you need to overcome, let's call them the baddies in this situation, are going to have a specific like combination of dice that you need to roll in order to defeat them. So on your turn, you have to choose dice from your active pool that you want to roll. You roll them, then you can assign them, and then you exhaust them, and then you only have what's left. You continue doing that, but then at the end of the turn, you can only bring a certain amount back into your active pool. So you don't want to use too many dice if you can avoid it. But then if you don't kill the baddie, there's going to be some kind of a negative effect that happens. Maybe you lose more dice. Maybe you have to pull another baddie that you have to overcome. Maybe you like take damage, all of that stuff. You're just trying to survive and get through the game and defeat all of the things. Like I said, there is a few different versions. Too Many Bones. There's I can't say that word. Hopalomachus Victorum. I probably said that wrong still. It's fine. And Solar Sentinels are the kind of base 3, and there's more and more that are going to be coming out. And they all work like base rules are generally the same, like the mechanics, but then they're all going to add different elements and how they play. So the Solar Sentinels will play a little bit differently than Too Many Bones, which will play differently than Hopalomachus Victorum. Anyways, it's super fun, super challenging, would highly recommend. And it's a nice little size box. Hello everyone, I interrupt this top 10 for a very special giveaway announcement. We are going to be giving away a Kickstarter pledge of Ada's Dream from Alleycat Games, which was very kindly sponsored by Alleycat Games, so shout out to them for doing this giveaway for you guys. All of the information is going to be listed in the description below, but all you need to do is comment down below what is your all-time favorite solo game, okay? That's what you need to say, and maybe put giveaway entry or something like that. Ada's Dream can be played solo. This is a super like crunchy type of game where you are playing out Ada Lovelace's life. Jeff and I have an entire video on this, which I will link in the description if you'd like to learn more about it. But if you would like to win yourself a copy of Ada's Dream, enter the giveaway. And thanks again to Alleycat Games for sponsoring the giveaway. Thank you. Bye. Boop. My number 4 is going to be Kinfire Delve. Where am I? There's one right there. That's Scorn Stockade. We also have Vainglory's Grotto. Callisis Lab, I think, is the third one, which we should have coming soon. Kinfire Delve, this was up there for, I think, was it in the same spot I don't remember if it was in the same spot in our co-op list, but basically you could play this cooperatively at 2 players or more if you have multiple copies or the different versions of the game. But what you are trying to do is you're trying to get through a well deck, and you are doing that by putting out different challenges and trying to overcome the challenges. You are playing as a seeker. That seeker is going to have some kind of a special ability. You're overcoming the challenges, which are like different colors basically, by playing out cards from your hand in order to try and overcome. You're also going to be rolling die that are going to give you extra points towards overcoming the different things. Some of the challenges are going to trigger off of each other, making it more difficult. And basically you are trying to survive. You're trying to delve down through that well deck until you then unveil the boss, and then you have to defeat the boss as well. In the solo version of this game, you are able to actually boost your own cards, whereas in a 2-player game, your partner would be able to help you out in some of those challenges by boosting cards. But a big thing with this game is hand management, because you don't get your cards back after you use them. And if you use all your cards, or any point when you need to get cards back, you have to then take like an exhaustion card. You pull that from the exhausted deck, and it could be something really bad. There's certain cards in there that if you pull this one and then this one, you immediately lose. So you really want to try and use as few cards as you can to overcome challenges. But speaking of challenges, it is a very challenging game, but I would highly recommend it. It is so good. It's such a good solo game, and I really like it at 2 players as well. I like both versions. I do have a solo mode on Vainglory's Grotto if you're interested in it. I love it. I freaking love it. I can't wait for the next one. Let's move on to number 3, Calico. I love Calico. I love Calico in every form of Calico. I want to play it with other people. I want to play it by myself, but I even find when I'm playing with other people, I'm basically just playing for myself. Like, Calico is a tile placement puzzle game where you are building out a quilt where you're trying to satisfy cats. And I don't know about you, I've got cats. They're hard to satisfy. They don't like the texture of this blanket. Maybe they don't like the pattern of that blanket. So that's what you're trying to do. Now, you're trying to satisfy the cats so you get points, but on your board there are also going to be 3 different scoring tiles where you are also trying to satisfy those. So one might be, okay, well, you need 2 different colors, 2 different colors, 2 different colors, but also 2 patterns, 2 patterns, 2 patterns. And if you just score one or the other, then you're going to get a certain amount of points. If you can do both, then you're going to get even more points. And you're just trying to maximize your points as best as you can. In the solo game, you are getting different kind of challenges. It'll tell you which cats to use. It might tell you how to start out on your board. All of these different things. Calico is just a great brain activity. It is so fun. It's a great little puzzle. It's fun to play with a coffee or just sitting at the coffee table or at the kitchen table in the morning. Put a little Calico out, have a great time, burn your brain. My number 2 is Marvel Champions. I love Marvel Champions, and I do prefer it solo. I enjoy it cooperatively, but I think solo for me is just like one of the best ways to play this game. This is actually, I think, the first solo game that I ever played, because Jeff and I had played Marvel Champions a few times, and we played with my brother and whatever, and Jeff's just not huge into Marvel, and he's kind of like, like, I don't know, like, this game is good, but I don't really want to keep playing it, but I wanted to keep playing it, and so I learned how to play it solo, and I haven't looked back. I took a break from it for a while, and then in the last year, I started playing it again. I went out, I bought a bunch more characters because, you know, that's just how I do, and it's just so good. Basically, in Marvel Champions, you are going to take on the role of a different Marvel hero, and then you are going to be trying to defeat a different Marvel villain. You're going to do that by attacking them, thwarting their schemes. They're going to be coming back at you, scheming and attacking and doing all these things. And it's just like a basically a head-to-head battle where you are trying to defeat them before they defeat you. Each of the characters work in a unique way. One thing that I really like about this game is that the way that you pay for cards is by discarding cards in your hand. So there's a huge hand management element to this game where you're like, all of these cards are good. I don't really want to get rid of this one, but I need to play this out. I just love the variability. It's like every game is going to be new. There's a ton of different villains, a ton of different heroes. And this is definitely one that I want to do a solo mode video on because I know this is a very well-loved game. I'm not the only one that loves it. So why not share a little bit of that Marvel Champion love? This is a great game. I love it. Last but not least, this, my number one game, everybody already knows what it is. It now has to come with a caveat. It is my number one game of all time. It is just my favorite board game. And the caveat is, of course, that I work for the company. So that's going to come with, I'm sure, I always get comments like, ooh, you get paid to say this. As if this hasn't been one of my favorite games since the very first time I picked it up. That is Final Girl, of course. There it is. It's quite literally surrounding me. It is by far my most played board game of all time. I love this game. It is like my pure love and dedication to Final Girl. That is the reason why I even ended up working for Van Ryder Games. But you're a human, you're an adult, you make your own decisions about your thoughts on this being my number one, but I'm going to talk about it anyways because it's my favorite game. Final Girl is a solo-only board game where you are taking on the role of a final girl, which is obviously a classic horror movie trope, and you are trying to defeat a different killer. So depending on which set you get, every game is going to be incredibly different. And one of my favorite things about Final Girl is that it's all mix and match. So every feature film comes with 2 Final Girls, 1 killer, 1 location. All of those things can be completely mixed and matched with everything else. There's currently 11 sets out if you count North Pole Nightmare, which is a special feature film. There's going to be Series 3 is going to be coming out later this year with another 5. And it's just like the ultimate variability. And so long as you have the core box, you can pick and choose which sets you want. Like you don't need everything, of course. You're like, hey, I don't like carnivals. Perfect. You don't need to get the Carnival of Blood. Maybe you really like fairy tales and folklore. Then you should get Once Upon a Full Moon, which is my favorite one. So there's just something I find magical about Final Girl. There's also like such a strong community behind it. Like this is one of those games very similar to Too Many Bones that has like a cult following. Like there's certain games, Too Many Bones, Final Girl, Dice Throne, that have like these like true fans where some people like Final Girl is the only game they play. It's the same thing for Too Many Bones and stuff like that. And I just love that, like, it's just built like such a passionate community. Like I said, my most played game of all time. Obviously, I play it even more now because I stream it for work. And I never, ever get sick of it. Ever. Are there certain sets that I like more than others? Definitely. I did an entire ranking video. If you're interested in that, if I remember, I'll link it below so you can kind of see what my favorite ones are. Like I said, my favorite is this one, Once Upon a Full Moon. I also, of course, love Camp Happy Trails because it's classic. I didn't really tell you about the game, but basically you are playing out different cards and then you're going to be rolling die to determine your level of success in order to do the action on the card, moving around the map, trying to save victims, trying to attack the killer. The killer's going to get a turn where it's going to be moving around the map, killing victims, attacking you, and doing all sorts of crazy stuff depending on what the killer is. And what's not to love about that? I guess unless you don't like horror, blood, and guts. Lots of that in this game, that's for sure. You definitely need to be into the theme. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I love it. I feel like my love for it is only growing. So those are my top 10 solo board games of all time as of right now. Like I said, This list is constantly changing. Like upstairs, I have set aside a few more little solo games that I'm gonna play. I really wanna try Harmony solo. Like I have Nemo's War, I haven't played that yet. There's so many games that I need to play solo. So many games, so little time. I would be super interested to know below what your favorite solo games are. If based on my list, there's any that you think I should definitely try, please leave those in the comments below. I'd love to know. I'm always looking for more suggestions. Honestly, I really love some of the heavier games, but I do love being able to like quickly set up something. Do you know what I just realized? Did you just realize the same thing I did? I somehow left Numpsters off of this list. Just so everybody knows, it's gonna have to be an honorable mention because I already made the list, but Numpsters from Button Shy should be on this top 10. And it would most likely, if I had to redo it, it would most likely come in at number 8, meaning Life of the Amazonia would be 9, Oceans would be 10, and Search for Lost Species would be 11. I was writing out all of my, I was like, oh, Button Shy, boo, 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 and I just forgot to put Numpsters on. Numpsters should definitely be on this list. Numpsters is a solo-only 18-card game where you are playing as numbers that are eating other numbers. And it's amazing. I can't believe I forgot to put it on the list. Ugh, the list is null and void. Anyways, that just threw me for a big loop. That is everything that I have for you today. If you're interested in buying board games like any of the many that I mentioned today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is the Boardroom Game Cafe. And if you like what you see, do you like what you see? I'm doing the outro, so Juno thinks she gets to leave. If you like what you see, please subscribe. I hope to see you again soon. And now I say goodbye. Goodbye! Did I get paint on my nails? It's hot down here. So hot down here. There's a spider hanging from one of my cords, but he's so little. He's just living. I don't kill spiders in our house, just so everybody knows. They're just doing their job, you know? Keeping all them buggies out. Juno, I forgot about Numpsters. What do you even think about that? Do you care? Are you listening? Come here. Come see. Come on up. What's your favorite solo game? Something about dogs? There's a game called Good Peppers. I don't know if you could play it solo, but you could try. You would probably just eat it because she likes to eat all of our games now. That's a big fun thing that you do. You ate 3 of our games, and that wasn't very nice. Okay, down. Oy, oy, oy.